It's been about more than a week since the verdict. As you sit here with me now, has it sunk in?
How could it? It's surreal and difficult. In part, yes. This has been a long time coming.
Do you stand by your testimony and your accusations against Johnny Depp about abuse?
Of course, to my dying day, will stand by every word of my testimony. I think vast majority of this trial was played out on social media. I think that this trial is an example of that gone haywire, gone amok, and the jury is not immune to that.
You think the jury saw it?
How could they not? I think even the most well-intentioned juror, it would have been impossible to avoid this. Every single day I passed for 3, 4, sometimes 6 blocks, city blocks lined with people holding signs saying, "Burn the witch," "Death to Amber." After 3.5 weeks, I took the stand and saw just a courtroom packed full of Captain Jack Sparrow fans who were vocal, energized.
Can you put into words how?
What?
Youre, LTTV, Blunt Talk with LT, back at it with another video. Alright, so let's just react to this one. I'm going to break it down after. Different style today. Let's react to this. Let's watch it in full.
How that felt.
This was the most humiliating and horrible thing I've ever been through. I have never felt more removed from my own humanity. I felt less than human.
Let's go back to the day of the verdict. Were you feeling confident?
That's a great question. I wish I could say yes to that. I want to say yes to you, but it wouldn't be true. Even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't tell me, look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation. There was another trial handled in...
All right, y'all, I'm going to let this play through, but she needs to stop this social media shit. She's undermining the jury, talking about the social media thing. Like, this was decided in the courts, not on social media. Everybody on social media was the public giving their opinion, thinking that you're a liar, and they were rocking with you at first, and you finessed them and hoodwinked them out of their position, and you lied on Johnny. But you know what? Let's get into it. There's a lot here. Let's watch it.
Dealt with the same substantive issues that had even more evidence in. In fact, my evidence was largely kept out. Really important pieces of evidence kept out. Done differently, handled differently by a judge instead of a jury.
Some evidence is admissible in a UK court that is not admissible in a US court. Do you think that maybe he just had better lawyers?
I will say his lawyers did certainly a better job of distracting the jury from the real issues.
For some people, they just were frankly disgusted by the whole thing and don't have much sympathy for either one of you. Can you understand that?
Absolutely.
My bad, y'all. I want y'all to hear what one of the jurors said after speaking up.
Amber versus Johnny's trial speaks out for the first time, and he slammed Amber Heard and her crocodile tears. The jurors said most of Amber's story didn't add up, and majority of the jury felt that she was the aggressor, not Johnny Depp. He also mentioned that Amber's emotional testimony was not realistic.
Okay, so what Amber Heard's doing here is potentially signing up for another defamation case because she's trying to double down on the things that were deemed lies and defamatory in the trial. So she's doubling down and doing it again. So she's going to have to live with the results. Let's get back into it.
I would not blame the average person for looking at this and how it's been covered and not think that it is Hollywood brats at their worst. But what people don't understand is it's actually so much bigger than that. This is not only about our First Amendment right to speak.
But here's the thing about the First Amendment. The First Amendment protects free speech. It doesn't protect lies that amount to defamation. And that was the issue in the case.
Yes, exactly. You can't go into, the free speech does not protect you if you go into a crowded theater and you scream fire. We get the concept of free speech from the Greeks. My understanding of what that means is not just the freedom to speak. It's a freedom to speak truth to power.
But truth is the word.
Yes.
And that was the issue.
And that's all I spoke. And I spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
In the closing arguments, the Depp lawyer called your testimony the performance of a lifetime, and said you were acting. What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers. I'm the performer. I had listened to weeks of testimony insinuating that, or saying quite directly that, I'm a terrible actress.
You are.
So I'm a bit confused how I could be both.
The Depp team argued that
Everything you do, ma'am, is performance-based. Even the way you're giving this speech, it's like a bad audition. You're trying to play this emotionally distraught, damsel in distress, woman speaking out, and you're putting on. It's not natural. You don't communicate naturally.
you were the abuser, that you instigated physical violence. Did you?
I never had to instigate it. I responded to it. When you're living in violence and it becomes normal, as I testified to, you have to adapt.
You say you were responding, but there is evidence. There are tapes in which you acknowledge hitting. There are tapes in which you say, I started the fight.
I know much has been made of these audio tapes. They were first leaked online after being edited. What you hear in those clips
What?
are not made of these audio tapes. They were first leaked online after being edited. What you would hear in those clips are not evidence of what was happening. It was evidence of a negotiation of how to talk about that with your abuser.
But I am looking at a transcript that he says, you start physical fights, and you say, I did start a physical fight. I can't promise you I won't get physical again. I mean, this is in black and white. I understand context. But you're testifying and you're just telling me today, I never started a physical fight, and here you are on tape saying you did.
As I testified on the stand about this, is that when your life is at risk, not only will you take the blame for things that you shouldn't take the blame for, but when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you don't have the resources that, say, you or I do with the luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white, because it's anything but when you're living in it.
But then there are other times, there's another tape where you're taunting him and saying, oh, tell the world, Johnny Depp, I, a man, am a victim of domestic violence.
20-second clips or the transcripts of them are not representative of even the 2 hours or the 3 hours that those clips are excerpt from.
Could your side have just put the whole 3 hours in then?
I'm not a lawyer. As I testified to, I was talking in those recordings as a person in extreme amount of emotional, psychological, and physical distress.
He
And
says
it
he
doesn't-
never hit you.
He can't-
Never. Is
yeah.
that a lie?
Yes, it is.
What about the witnesses who said they...
Now you lost your defamation case for saying such things, and now you're going back on the air and saying such things.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
have seen you instigate physical violence?
I've seen firsthand how people will file rank and support the person they depend on.
Did they all come in and lie in court?
I am not here to call any of his witnesses any names. I'm here to just kind of talk about it from what it felt like for me as the person who sat there.
When I asked his lawyers, why do you think you won? And the answer I got was, because she never took responsibility for anything she did in the
Very
marriage.
unaccountable.
I
Unaccountable.
did do and say
Stop the
horrible,
cap.
regrettable things throughout my relationship. I behaved in horrible, almost unrecognizable to myself ways. There's so much, I have so much regret. I freely and openly and voluntarily talked about what I did. I talked about the horrible language. I talked about being pushed to the extent where I didn't even know the difference between, right and wrong. I will always continue to feel like I was a part of this, like I was the other half of this relationship, because I was. And it was ugly and could be very beautiful. It was very, very toxic. And we were awful to each other. I made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. But I've always told the truth.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
Now, this lady lies with her chest out.
You stupid.
Thinks that we're that dumb to believe her dumbass lies when the evidence proves otherwise. She's trying to manipulate and finesse her way out of this without being she's so unaccountable. The only time she took any accountability for anything was at the end when she was called out for it, and that was the reason why she lost the case, because she was unaccountable. It's ridiculous. And she still was unaccountable for her toxic and physical assaults. She was trying to be accountable for vague nothings. Oh, my language, the way I spoke. Like, nigga, no one gives a fuck about none of that shit. We have another compilation because the full interview's not out. So I had to kind of stitch all the clips that I seen together from the interview. We have another compilation. There is a little bit of overlap of things that are said from the last one into this one, but there is some absolutely ridiculous things she says in this next one, especially when it comes to the donations, because the donations was absolutely capped. She won. Hold on.
Sit here.
She won, what was it, $7 million in a divorce settlement from Johnny Depp. She said she was gonna donate the entire thing. She didn't donate shit, and then she said, no, I pledged. Y'all remember that pledge bullshit. She gets questioned on it in this compilation, so let's get into this one. This full interview should be out on Friday.
With me now, has it sunk in?
This is the same part.
3,
Some
4,
overlap.
sometimes
We don't care.
more removed from my own humanity.
Let's go back to
Heard
the
this part.
day of the verdict. Were you feeling confident?
I heard this
Tapes
part.
in which you acknowledge hitting. There are tapes in which you say, I started the fight.
I know much has been made of these audio tapes. They were first leaked online after being edited. What you would hear.
Okay, so if these were edited tapes that we heard in court, they would be inadmissible in court. Inadmissible in court if they were edited tapes. No one would have used them. She likes to play with people's intelligence like we're all as dumb as her.
And those clips are not evidence of what was happening. It was evidence of a negotiation. The blame for things that you shouldn't take the blame for. But when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you don't have the resources that, say, you or I do, with the luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white. Privacy of my own home and my marriage.
Okay,
Those
here's the new
clips are
stuff.
excerpt from.
We got some that.
I don't
okay.
care what one thinks about me or what judgments you want to make about what happened in the privacy of my own home and my marriage behind closed doors. I don't presume the average person should know those things, and so I don't take it personally. But
We shouldn't know those, but we know those because you put out all your information in your op-ed. You put out this information, and now you want to cry victim of people judging you for the information that you put out.
Stop it. Get some help.
even somebody who is sure I'm deserving of all this hate and vitriol even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation. You cannot.
We don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
Why in the fuck would we look you in the eye and say there's fair representation on social media? This is handled in court. Social media does not judge. We're not the jurors. We don't judge the outcome. Social media is just an accumulation of the people watching this shit and putting shit out there and taking little clips of shit that she says that is absolute cap. The lies that she spews, her that guy that she had on the stand for her, that was on her side, that guy that was doing all those weird mouth movements, all them shits were on social media, but that has nothing to do with the final judgment. You lied through your teeth and you're unaccountable for all your lies. You were caught lying so many times. Let's get into this.
Tell me that you think that this has been fair.
There's no polite way to say it. The jury looked at the evidence you presented. They listened to your testimony and they did not believe you. They thought you... Polite way to say it. The jury looked at the evidence you presented. They listened to your testimony and they did not believe you. They thought you were lying.
How could, I'll put it this way, how could they make a judgment? How could they not come to that conclusion? They had sat in those seats and heard over 3 weeks of nonstop, relentless testimony from paid employees and towards the end of the trial, randos, as I say.
So you don't blame the jury?
I don't blame them. It wasn't, I don't blame them. I actually understand he's a beloved character and people feel they know him. He's a fantastic actor.
What she's doing right now is undermining the shit out of the jury and everybody that witnessed this case. Oh, we love Johnny Depp so much. That's why we just sided with him and everything you said was lies. Or your story was incongruent and absolute fabrications. You were caught in so many lies.
It wasn't, I don't blame them. I actually understand he's a beloved character and people feel they know him.
This is
He's a
pathetic.
fantastic actor.
This
Their
is
job
pathetic.
to not be dazzled by that. Their job is to look at the facts and the evidence. And they did not believe your
Unaccountable.
testimony or your
Unaccountable.
evidence.
How could they, after listening to 3.5 weeks of testimony,
Your testimony or your evidence.
how could they, after listening to 3.5 weeks of testimony about how I was a non-credible person, not to believe a word that came out of my mouth?
On the first day of the trial, you issued a statement.
All right, so we listened to 3.5 weeks of testimony and you were deemed a non-credible person. Why was that? Because you lied through your teeth. And now you're coming
Crying to me, and I'm not having that. Learn the rules.
And part of the statement said, I still have love for Johnny.
Yes,
Is that still true?
yes,
After everything?
absolutely. Absolutely. I love him.
Stop the cap.
I loved him with all my heart. And I tried the best I could to make a...
Did y'all see the video that I reacted to on a Blunt Talk with LT with the 30 times she brought over James Franco to her penthouse suite during the course of the relationship with Johnny Depp?
Shut up, bitch.
deeply broken relationship work. And I couldn't.
When does crack?
No bad feelings or ill will
Now,
towards
so
him
the
at all.
cocaine's happening. When does that crack come into play?
I know that might be hard to understand, or it might be really easy to understand. If you've just ever loved anyone, it should be easy.
You had promised to donate the $7 million of your divorce settlement to charity. It was revealed at trial that you haven't done so yet. However, they played a tape where you stayed on the air that you have donated it. Do you think that raised questions as to your credibility with the jury?
I made a pledge, and that...
You're done.
Shut the fuck up about this stupid ass pledge. You didn't donate the goddamn money, you fucking fraud. You fucking fraud.
That pledge is made over time by its nature. And
When you say I donated, you know that everybody thinks that you've donated it, not that you've pledged it. So for the jurors sitting there, do you think they felt like that was you getting caught in a lie?
I don't know, because so much of the, I feel like so much of the trial was meant to cast aspersions on who I am as a human, my credibility, to call me a liar in every way you can. And
That was the trial. It was a credibility contest.
And
that was it.
This is another one of the...
You fucking idiot. You fucking idiot. Credibility test? Oh, this was like a credibility test. I felt like this trial is X, Y, and what do you think a trial is, you fucking liar? You think you're just gonna lie through your teeth and get all that shit off?
I'm about to add that hoe out.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
Yeah, you're done. You're done. One it up.
The examples where if you pull back and you think about it, I shouldn't have to have donated it in an effort to be believed. I shouldn't have had to earmark the...
This, I shouldn't have had to donate it. Then why the fuck did you say you donated it? You fucking fool. Everybody's the idiot. Everybody's in love with Captain Jack Sparrow. But you're the dumbass that said, yeah, I donated the money and didn't donate shit.
This is another one of the examples where if you pull back and you think about it, I shouldn't have to have donated it in an effort to be believed. I shouldn't have had to earmark the entirety of that in order to have...
You shouldn't have, but once you said you did.
Right, which is where it was intended to go.
Just like a woman.
Wait, what the hell? Oh, these is playing. This shit dead. Oh, hell no. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. God damn it.